So I got this emergency evacuation warning Thursday night at 10:13 p.m. on a cell phone that's not even hooked up. I've got 3 cell phones and only one of the 3 do I pay service for. The other 2 I keep charged just for alarm clocks, and one of them started going off with the emergency alert. And then I had to Google it to see where these roads are, Yellow Pine Trail and Highline Trail. It didn't give me a link or anything. I just clicked OK and it gave me no more information. So I had to Google those 2 roads to see how close it was to me, and it showed me the evacuation notice. Due to rapidly moving Yellow Lake fire, an immediate evacuation has been issued for the area north of Mirror Lake Highway between the Yellow Pine Trailhead at mile marker 6 and the Highline Trail at mile marker 35. Please gather your belongings and leave the area immediately. Please only call 911 to report life-threatening emergencies. Call the non-emergency line for assistance. Then it repeats the message in Spanish. And so I was also able to scroll down once I found this link to this emergency alert that they had issued and see where it's at. I'm in Heber City that you see there on the left. And apparently that was that's the evacuation area of a fire that I've been taking video of for the last 2 weeks. Over 2 weeks. It started Thursday or Friday, and we're at like 2 weeks and 3 days. So here's a couple videos that I've taken of that fire most recently. Today's Thursday. I think it's October 10th. It's been 2 weeks since I took the first video of that fire that's been burning over there. And I got people in the comments section saying, check out the elk fire in Wyoming or the Remington fire in Montana. I know, they're going everywhere. One guy even says, you should check out this fire. It's only a few miles from my house. Well, why don't you go take a video since your boot's on the ground and upload it and notify me once you've uploaded your video, and I'll send your first few subscribers your way when I repost it on my channel. And you would be the very first person who has ever done that, with the exception of Jeff Bush, I think. I think he's actually the only one. Anyway, I just thought I'd make this brief. It's the 2-week anniversary of that fire over there. And now it's blending in with the clouds that have moved in behind it, so maybe I'll make a different video once those... Just to get a view from the same perspective as what I had the other day from this same spot right here next to the hotel. So you get a good idea of how smoky it is here. Can't even see the mountains over there. I swear there's a mountain over there. Here, dragon, 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 dragons. The wind isn't in our favor today, blowing the smoke our way. But it does make for a cool sunrise. Here you can see I've uploaded some videos of that fire back on October 3rd and October 5th. But those turned into dragon videos because I had a bunch of dragons flying through, and so that one there on October 5th that's almost an hour long, that one's about eyes to see more dragons per second. And that thumbnail image of apparently me moving in double speed, I'm moving at 120 frames per second and the camera's only filming at 60. It's because the title of that video is eyes to see more frames per second. Anyway, I'll include that link in the description. I may or may not make it go public, but that's where I slow it down and show all the dragons. And the reason I've been hesitant is because you lose a lot of the resolution through the screen recording apparatus. So what I'm going to show you now, I guess Hustle Bitch removed the bitch from his name and now he's just Hustle. But he put out a video earlier today Burning for billions, Wyoming fires linked to secret lithium land grab. I'll include that link in the description.
I'll tell you, this is 30 years for me in fire, and this is the latest, most active fire I've ever seen. And I go on a lot of fires. So that says something right there.
Well, don't you worry, because we're going to be talking about it even if no one else does. Because what's happening right now in Wyoming is arguably one of the biggest travesties we've seen so far. We all know what kind of madness they've been creating with the weather, but wildfires are a completely different animal, my friends. While they can hide behind natural causes for the hurricanes, they cannot do that with the once-in-a-century fire that's now raging in Wyoming and swallowing farmland without mercy. Of course, they're claiming it was all started by a lightning strike, but the facts just don't line up. As I've shown you earlier, park authorities are confirming that this is the biggest fire in Bighorn National Park in the last 100 plus years. In fact, the last wildfire grew big enough to only consume 18,000 acres. And yet here we have this hellfire, which has quickly burned down 75,000 acres. And even stranger is the fact that there are clear signs of information blackouts in the area because no large newspapers are really covering it. And as this tweet points out, the numbers don't make any sense either. Elk Fire, Bighorn, Sheridan, Wyoming. The government has helped put a lid on this fire perhaps and has blocked real coverage. 75,969 acre fire. But 2 days ago, news said 73,000, and for that slow of fire, it just isn't possible for 16% containment. The math isn't mathing. To make this even more strange, all live cams are off. No current video even. On Watch Duty app that always links you to current events and live cams, but not this fire. It links all information back to government website information only. And he's not making things up. Just days ago, I myself reported that the fire had spread to 73,000 acres and it was quickly expanding at the time. Now, according to the authorities, it's only 16% contained, and yet this fire has not spread more than 3,000 acres. Now, I would love to believe those numbers, but I've been doing this for far too long to believe the information coming out of official channels, especially in a time like this. So I truly believe the numbers are much higher and someone just doesn't want the public to know about it. And I found a good video that goes into depth of all the strange things happening around this wildfire.
Can somebody tell me why the entire state of Wyoming is on fire right now and nobody even knows this? Multiple counties have been affected with over 100,000 acres on fire with zero containment. Now you're asking yourself, what is going on with these natural disasters and smart cities and land grabs? You guys, I looked into this one. This is the biggest one yet. First, let's start with where the biggest fires are, starting with the Elk Fire with over 74,000 acres currently on fire. Elk is located in the Sheridan County, and the other counties on fire is the Telton County and the Fremont County with 58,000 acres combined with zero containment. This list shows all the fires that happened this year in Wyoming from the start date and containment date and what caused them. Some were caused by human activity and some, like this one, was caused by lightning, but I'll reserve judgment on that. But here's a weird thing about the last two. So the Telton County and the Fremont County actually merged together on October 5th, but started in August 16th. Now, it's not so much that the fires merge, that happens all the time, and these two counties are next to each other, but it's the timing. It's 2 months later, and you had multiple containments in between these fires. Now, you could say this is a land grab, with Wyoming being number 6 with the most land owned by the federal government with over 46%, but it's way more nefarious than that. Now, you remember that first county I showed you, Sheridan, with over 70,000 acres on fire? Yeah, they just found the biggest deposit of rare earth minerals worth $37 billion. Now the question is, does the government own this land? It says here the Sheridan County, Wyoming is a governmental entity that operates under the jurisdiction of the state of Wyoming, but it is not owned by the US government. Now another question is, can the government take this land? It says the government can take private property during a disaster under the power of eminent domain. which allows for the acquisition of the property for public use provided that the owner is compensated. However, this typically occurs when the property is needed for emergency response efforts. Oh, like a fire caused by lightning? Got it. Oh, it doesn't stop there. So the company Wyoming Rare got $450 million from the feds for their Hollow Creek project because they found even more rare earth minerals on the other side of Wyoming. This is a tens of billions of dollars play because they said it's so big that it could be a world leader of how much minerals they have. You really have to ask yourself, how many coincidences have to line up before it's not a coincidence?
So even though this land falls under the federal jurisdiction, the government can't just sell it to the mines. So it looks like now they're using their scorched earth tactics to make the land uninhabitable so no one bats an eye when they gobble it up with eminent domain. And while it's true that the land in Wyoming is rich in rare earth minerals, I still believe it's the lithium mining mafia that's behind all of this. Because in a surprise to absolutely no one, the state of Wyoming also has substantial deposits of lithium. In fact, these deposits were discovered all the way back in 2013 when one article announced that America finds massive source of lithium in Wyoming. Now, this discovery was made during a geological survey which concluded there could be up to 18 million tons of lithium there, worth up to roughly $500 billion at current market prices. So basically, it's a race to get access to those hundreds of billions of dollars worth of lithium. With so much on the line, it's not surprising that there's already a bunch of mining operations taking place in Wyoming, and a lot more are in the planning stages. According to the Freedom Lithium Project website, the Freedom Lithium Project is in an easily accessible area located in the historic Copper Mountain Mining District with extensive pegmatite outcrops. The state of Wyoming is mining friendly and is the second biggest net domestic energy supplier. But an even bigger company that's trying to make a fortune from these lithium deposits is Chariot Corporation Limited. Its Black Mountain project is the largest one of the 6 mining operations it already has in the state of Wyoming, which makes it the biggest beneficiary from any kind of land sale that might occur in the aftermath of this wildfire.
Wouldn't it be crazy if they found 2.34 billion tons of neodymium in Wyoming? You know, a magnetic mineral which is pretty vital to computer technologies. Wouldn't it be crazy if Chariot Mining just found the first, you know, a magnetic mineral which is pretty vital to computer technology?
Wouldn't it be crazy? And that will relate to what I'm about to show you, where I propose a different idea where, just like a plasma ball lamp, if you touch it one place, all of the electrical filaments surrounding your finger will draw to your finger, and it will create a barrier around your finger where those filaments do not touch the surface of the glass globe. That magnetic mineral he's referring to in the ground may actually just draw the geomagnetic induction current towards it, to where it's naturally drawn to that spot. And my theory is, if they can direct this energy, it seems like they're directing it into the boreal forests of Canada and the zombie fires all throughout Siberia, etc. We'll talk about that in a minute, but just remember what he said about a giant deposit of magnetic minerals in the ground. And lithium, probably, actually I've heard it isn't that rare. And so this guy, Hustlebitch, is involved in some narrative driving towards the idea of the directed energy weapon, and he's trying to present you with people who have motive. So you assign that motive and then fill in the rest of the theory yourself. I have proposed the idea this is more of a natural phenomenon, geomagnetic induction, when our magnetic field goes down and we start receiving these solar flares that create northern lights all around the world. The reason those northern lights are used to be just in the north, because that's where the magnetic field is weak, and it allows that solar plasma to penetrate. Now we are seeing that solar plasma penetrate everywhere, indicating that the magnetic field is weak everywhere. And if this energy is going to come into our atmosphere, you better hope someone has the ability to direct it and draw it up in the ground in places where there's just cattle and not cities with all of that metallic conductive material in the city. The cars, the houses, the piping, the wire, it's all electrically conductive. Why do these plasma fires? They have been proven to be an electrical type of fire, and when they do hit a city, burns the houses to the ground and leaves the trees alone. Why don't they hit more cities than they do? Maybe because that energy is being drawn out to those places where it does less damage. It's hitting forests. It's hitting Wyoming, the most empty state in the whole U.S., to keep the surrounding areas from having those little blue dancing electromagnetic filaments in the plasma lamp globe reach up and touch the surface in a place where we don't want it. Instead, we direct it out into the middle of the fields. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. But they would rather people think that there's a boogeyman behind this pushing the button with the motive to benefit and profit. Because if the people knew it's a natural phenomenon, they would be ungovernable. If they believe that it's a directed energy and some boogeyman's got his finger on the button, the people will rely on the government to rescue us, to save us, to find out who's doing it. Is it China? Is it Russia? Is it the deep state? Who's running these energy weapons? And the people will still be governable if the people know it's a natural phenomenon, and this energy would thus be both, not just natural and not just directed energy weapon. It's both. It's a natural energy that if we don't direct it, we're so overwhelmed with it right now, it's just going to spring forth randomly wherever it wants to go, and that's going to draw more towards cities than toward forests, because that's where more of the conductive material is centralized. And if they want to direct this energy and weaponize it, they can and will and do. Look at the 5 Secret Service vehicles of Joe Biden's that burned and their engine blocks melted hours after the Secret Service returned those Hertz rental cars. That's clearly directed and intentional, and you can see what the target was. It was a message. So yes, they can weaponize it, or they can use it for your benefit. The ability to direct this energy, these directed energy weapons aren't getting their energy from a freaking hydroelectric dam, a coal-fired power plant, or a nuclear electrical power generating facility. It's a natural energy. You puncture the magnetic field, you can tap right into it. Problem is, the magnetic field is puncturing itself and making holes, and it's flooding into our world. That same energy that can be directed and weaponized simply by poking your antenna out up into the magnetic field. That magnetic field is breaking and weakening and allowing that energy that can be directed through these weaponized systems just to come into our world and spring forth anywhere it wants. So these directing systems that can be weaponized can also be used to the benefit of the people by directing that energy coming from the center of the plasma globe lamp. Those little filaments come up and breach the surface somewhere. So if you don't touch it out there in Wyoming or the boreal forests in Canada or the Siberian fires in near Russia, it's going to draw toward other places. Keep that in mind.
Crazy if Chariot Mining just found the first hard lithium deposits in Wyoming in the last month or so. Wouldn't it be crazy that while all these hurricanes are going on, there is a massive wildfire engulfing the mountains of Wyoming right now, which has burned over 78,000 acres? Wouldn't it be crazy if the media appears to be just ignoring the fact that there is this massive fire in Wyoming? Wouldn't it be crazy if Chariot's stock price has gone up nearly 40% in the last month? Wouldn't it be crazy if these massive fires are only 45 minutes away from Black Mountain, the main project of Chariot Mining Company? That would be crazy.
Now, while these mega mining corporations are busy trying to carve up the heaven that is Wyoming, the real victims are farmers who are trying their absolute best to save their animals and their crops. Moving on, let's talk about Acapulco, Mexico, which is known for being the party town for rich Americans. Well, unfortunately, it seems like a sudden change in direction from Hurricane John had absolutely decimated the town, and we're starting to see the real full scale of destruction in this area. In a future video, we're going to dive into this and really explore what's happening in Acapulco. And things aren't much better in other parts of the Mexican coast, which got hammered by the same hurricane.
Were you guys aware that this was also happening in Mexico around the same time that
So my primary focus of attention here is on the fires, but then they go on to tell you about the floods and the hurricane in Acapulco, Mexico, possibly just to overwhelm you with emergencies so you can't think about one thing straight and clearly. It's conflated with all of this other stuff. Did you know about this? And did you know about that? And what about this? And did you hear about that? To the point where it overwhelms you and you can't think clearly about any of it.
it's literally doing a U-turn and coming to the East Coast? Look at that. See, they got to hold on to things. That's how deep the water is. Did y'all know about this in Mexico? Bro, you see? Look at this, y'all. Cars are literally buried. This is literally the mud flood. This is, again, the mud flood.
Okay, so if you want to watch the rest of that video about the hurricane in Mexico, you'll have to click the link in the description. Go watch the rest of it over on Hustle's channel because I'm covering the fires here. So this is the video of the Yellow Lake fire that I got the emergency alert for that I took October 3rd. I think it's Thursday. Today's Thursday. Tomorrow that fire will have been burning for a week. All in the same spot, just right there in that one spot. What's it burning? What's the fuel? Usually fires spread or they go out. They don't just sit there and burn in one spot for a week. That's what this one's doing. How long does it take for that one spot to burn up all the fuel? Especially with the high winds we've had. Don't quite make much sense. Maybe like when you touch the plasma lamp and all of those electrical filaments draw to your finger, they're touching the plasma lamp over there so it doesn't burn right here. And they're drawing out all the energy over there to make all the filaments of the underground lightning that we know as plasma fire draw over to that point so it doesn't come and hit the new ski resort. It's just a crazy harebrained theory of mine. What do you think? Crazy harebrained theory? Because it's not just now that I came up with that. I've thought about this before. Oh, I just saw one cruise from left to right. A quickie. A fast mover. It's not a new theory. It's something I've thought of before. Maybe just like when you plasma globe lamp and it draws all those filaments to your finger. Maybe they're drawing the energy to places that are rural so it doesn't strike in urban areas, because most of these plasma fires don't hit cities. They hit forests. Maybe that's why all the boreal forests of Canada are burning and all the fires in Siberia that are burning. They draw it out to places where it will do less damage, because it's like you got to touch the release valve and open it up somewhere, or it's going to spring forth in a place where there's more metal, more conductive material. And so if you don't want this new ski resort to burn down, you touch the lamp over there, and all of the filaments in the surrounding area of where your finger is touching the plasma lamp, all of the filaments in the surrounding area are drawn over there towards where your finger's touching the plasma globe. There was another one. I just saw another fast mover. I'm not sure if that one went left to right or right to left. You can see the rest of those fire videos that I've made of that Yellow Lake fire over the past week in this video that I'm going to upload and title it Eyes to See More Dragons Per Second that I uploaded on the 5th. It's almost an hour long. It'll have this as the thumbnail. It turns those fire videos where I just said I saw one go across the screen. Ooh, I saw another one. I slow those down and screen record them, but there's a lot of resolution lost in the screen recording process, so I've already uploaded the originals directly to YouTube where you'll be able to see them more easily. Some of them go straight vertical. 2 of them, one right after another, going straight vertical. Anyway, probably won't be doing many more dragon videos because I lose such resolution in the screen recording process. I'll just refer you to Latchkey Hustle, Deadeye Customs, and Custodian files.
Many UFOs and saucers over Oklahoma City right now, and I want to know why. So the reason I'm bringing this up, because there's just too many UFOs and saucers over Oklahoma City right now, and I want to know why. My theory is, I'm going to put it out there, it's just my theory. If you have another theory, it doesn't have to be a better, it can be any kind of theory. I think they're really, our space brothers are reaching out to us. They're like, look, we're trying to get your attention. We've given you thousands of dragon videos, and what do we got to do? So I guess they're figuring, look, let's bring our saucers, let's fly over the FAA Academy, we'll get someone's attention. I think that's where this is all going. They really are trying to open a communication. Essentially, here we are, we're trying to say hello, and basically we're not saying hello back. A few of us are, but I think they want to hear from a larger number of people, maybe some state agencies, some federal agencies. That's just my theory. And if this theory is correct, then you know what? Then all around the world, you find the equivalent of the FAA academies all over the world, Asia, South America, Europe, and see if saucers are flying over that city, those countries, over the academies, over their FAA equivalent. So
that audio was from a video put out by Custodian Files a day or two ago that I will link in the description. This is an image from that video showing all of the unidentified craft that flew through the field of view within 45 seconds of videotaping. And then he compiled or collated or interpolated all of the single frames of that which passed through the field of view in that 45 seconds all onto one image. So these all didn't pass through the field of view all at the same time, but they all passed through the field of view within 45 seconds of video, and so he just compiled all the images. You can see one of them comes up and does a big U-turn and then comes down, and it goes across this way, and another one comes across this way, and one of them goes up and that way, and this one goes up and that way. And he says that he believes these are not the typical dragons and these are not the typical dragons because they're moving slower. And you want to see, you'll be in the description and watch the original video in their real speed in real time, and then slow down in order to highlight and illustrate and pause right on the single still frame that's embedded with it. So that's just a taste of that video that I'll title Eyes to See More Frames Per Second. And you've already watched the first 16 minutes, so you can fast forward. No, that's right, I scanned through it. You only watched a couple minutes. Anyway, I was trying to get to the point where he shows this UFO up close. Right. No, that's where I zoom in. He gives you an image of his. But I think we come back to it at the end. Yeah, we come back to it at the end, I think. Anyway, that turns into a dragon video. Those fires that I was recording, I ended up seeing a bunch of dragons in the video, and I turned it into a dragon video. That'll be with the blurry image of me in double speed, vibrating so high that the camera couldn't even keep up with me. Having said that, I'm going to finish it off with this video by Latchkey Hustle where he shows you technology that's been developed in this square between 4 military bases, which is where they run the grid for these actual machines that they're releasing. Micro drones, supersonic micro drones within the base, they could use these 4 military bases for a grid system, longitude and latitude, for navigation of these AI-driven micro super drones. Check them out. He found what...
Hey folks, welcome back. Thank you for joining us. So this week we've got a number of different things to focus on. So it starts with a kind of a quick geographical summary of where most of these captures occur. And then we move on to some drone footage courtesy of the federal government. And then we transition to a few other areas, which, you know, the video will explain itself. There is one section where I'm going to pop back in because it's actually a local news segment from Denver from 12 years ago, actually, 2012, where a fellow was capturing similar things that are featured on this channel, and to the credit of the local news channel in Denver, they just did a segment on it. And so thanks to Robert Shipe for providing this to me. So I wanted to share it with you because it's, you know, it's topical. It's older now, but it's nonetheless topical. So yeah, so there's that, and then we round down with a few other captures. So enjoy.
I'm going to upload this separately because I know attention spans are only so long, and I'll keep this video limited to the fires. But these dragons and these things that he shows are the actual craft that we could be seeing. 2.6 inch propellers, 6.5 inch body, 11.8 inch wingspan. And these are driven like electromagnetically and dropped from airplanes. That's what you're seeing right there. They get dropped out of these F-14s, start cruising around in the air, and they get buzzed by a fast-moving UAP that's going twice their speed, if not 5 times. And he shows you that there was a mainstream news coverage of these UAP dragons back in the day where they said they're not bugs, they're not birds, they're super fast UAP dragons. I'm going to upload that separately.